Welcome to the Conference of Movements, com26v.com. Here today, I'm here with Sheri Lwwis, one of the three peacemakers of ourselves, and also there's Meswin Azaid could not come because of family issues. So we are the three peacemakers, and our goal is to bring peace on earth and peace for Mother Earth. So today is the day 7 of our conference, and today is a Water is Life conference. And early this morning, we talked about the spirit of water. Actually, the water has spirit in itself and holds memory and can influence our lives in a positive or negative way. The water is polluted, we get impacted negatively. As a healthy water, it improves our lives. And today we're here with the Standing Rock water protectors. They're coming in. They're having some technical difficulties. Sheri, would you like to explain? You are rounding them up and bringing them on here.
Yes, well, and if they can join us, then they're able to join. We've just been having a few technical difficulties today. Actually, we have Red Fawn with us right now. She can't get her video up, but Red Fawn, you can still hear us okay, can't you?
Yeah, hello everybody. Hello relatives. I'm thankful to be here today with Sheri and David and our other sister. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to be here with each of you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. We're so thankful for you. And so we're going to go ahead and start. And that's, that's actually I really think that's such a cute picture of you in your youth, Red Fawn. You're still young, but you know what I'm saying. That's just a cute picture of you that you have up, showing how long you've been going at it. That's for sure. So, I just wanted to give thanks to Creator right before we start here. Wow. So, Creator, coming to you with gratitude as always, and thankful to be in the presence right now of Red Fawn and David and Alice behind the scene here as we are getting ready to speak on things pertaining towards keeping our balance with humanity and with our Mother Earth that you've entrusted us with, Creator. And please just keep us strong and our hearts and minds aligned in a good way as we keep walking to embrace that and to embrace the responsibility of taking care of your creation here and being a part of walking in the responsibility that we haven't been as human beings. And please let us continue leading that through bringing education and to people that might not understand how to treat our Mother Earth and what the concept of it is to protect our water. But water is life. And thank you for the blessing of our water. And thank you for the opportunity to come together to heal and to heal our water. So, and that I leave this prayer, Creator, and thank you. And would like to introduce Red Fawn here. So, Red Fawn, I just, you can definitely introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about who you are and kind of even your journey and your experience as a human being here in the walk for Mother Earth and for the protection of our water. So, in your way, please introduce yourself.
Hamadakia pi Tingleshka Lutawi Machia pi Ogalala Lakotawia. I am grateful to be here today, and I would just like to apologize to my elders for speaking before them at this time. I'm I'm sorry, I get kind of emotional. So a little bit about me. I'm Ogalala Lakota. I introduced myself. My name is Red Fawn. My Lakota name is Chante Washtewu. I come from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and I was raised in Denver, Colorado by my ina and my ate. I went to Standing Rock in August of 2016, and I stayed there. I had a camp with a couple other sisters from Cannonball, and we lived there from August until the day I was arrested on October 27th, the day they raided the treaty camp. I faced charges stemming from being on the front line and being set up by an infiltrator. This has been a very hard journey, and I'm very thankful that I was raised the Lakota way, with prayer, with ceremony, and that knowing instilled deep within my spirit that helps me, along with everybody else's prayers and encouragement and love and support, to help get me through these past 4 years. Things in the beginning were very confusing. I had a lot of questions as to why this path was put before me, and I no longer have those questions. I know what I went to Standing Rock for, just like many brothers and sisters from all over the world who were at Standing Rock and who were supporting us from the web, in spirit, in prayer, with donations, with just, spreading the word, that continue to do that to this day. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to voice my gratitude and my humility that I've learned and that I've gained through this journey. Standing Rock was a prayer that started after I lost my unchi and my ina in March and June of 2016. I was kind of at a crossroads in my life, and this prayer came from the youth, and so I just dropped everything, and I went to Standing Rock, and it was exactly what I needed. That started a spiritual path for me, the red road, as we say in Lakota, the Chankuluta, and it helped me to get spiritually, mentally, and emotionally intact. Prison was sort of a blessing in disguise, and I wouldn't change anything. I know that our sufferings have been going on since the invaders came, and I've learned a lot of compassion and kindness going through, but the most important thing is mani wichoni. Water is life. It's necessary. I grew up very close to the water. Always had it in my life. I was always, in the water, around the water. I was always involved in ceremony. My mom was a sun dancer. And so the importance of water is very important, especially as being a woman from the woman nation. It's how we carry our babies, and it's first medicine, and we're the carriers of water. So I guess that's pretty much what I have to say for right now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. It's so beautiful to hear your voice, and thank you for sharing your journey. And we have Manape actually just joined us, and so Manape, I think you have to unmute yourself. You're on mute. Yeah, so thank you, Red Fawn, and just so appreciative that you shared, and you're continuing to walk in that way, and your journey and your inspiration that has already touched so many lives and so many people is just one to continue. So thank you for your presence. Thank you for being the human being that you are. And thank you for being the water protector that you are. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Manape, who, was definitely a part of Standing Rock and has continued walking in a good way. And Manape, please just introduce yourself and share your viewpoints on the power of water and why it's so important to protect our water.
Well, thank you. Mataki api akichita hokshida na manape hochinshiga machapi. My name is Soldier Boy, and I you know, forgive me for calling in a little bit late. You know, it's been a pretty hectic day. We got a few exciting things happening around our own household here. So, but just trying to be cautious, being cautious during this current outbreak. You know, this wave that's happening right now. It's been some tough dynamics for all the families. So, my love and compassion to all those that are trying to figure it all out, and doing the best they can. The capacity that I think that I'm here, you know, we mentioned Standing Rock, and I want to say hello to Red Fawn, you know, and it's good to hear your voice. Good to see you out, and I'm glad to see those powers that be that are currently in control. They didn't quiet you. It's good to hear that, and it's good to see my relative using her voice. The capacity that I operated in Standing Rock was when the kids started their runs, and I can't even begin to express the brevity between running along the highway and hearing these kids pray. Some mornings the kids would make a prayer. Every morning we prayed, and every night we prayed during those runs. And you know, to be in their presence when they express themselves to the Creator is truly an honor. And then down the road to see the great lengths that the system has created to take our voice away. I'm not surprised. Our family has been battling these sort of things and doing advocacy for a long time. But at the same time, I can't help but recognize that we call ourselves civilized. The way the system is set up is supposed to be civilized, and we can see that it is not. And so when you're running alongside the highway for a certain amount of days, and you see these youth making prayers for not just the Indian communities, but the greater good of all, I find tremendous bravery in that, and sacrifice. My father, who crossed over last year on Father's Day, he had suffered a stroke a couple years prior to that, and he found himself running alongside with these children. And somehow, some way, he found a way to be there, and he let his feet be counted in this advocacy. Later we were called to a more permanent commitment in Standing Rock, and we put the horn up. After 153 years, the horn was rebuilt, and we continue the commitments that we made when the horn came together. We continue that, and we just do the best we can. We're really, you know, I am really impacted by those prayers those children, those young men and young women made, and I think that I've been going now since 4 years now since Standing Rock. I think that those prayers have fueled many of us in continuing that advocacy. And I too have sat behind the fence for less honorable things, very dishonorable things, you know, dealing meth in our communities. That's my history. But to be able to be sober for 15 years, clean and sober for 15 years, and to be threatened with jail time for doing the right thing, that doesn't scare me one bit. And I would hope that it it doesn't cause any hesitation with any of our allies in the future. Because I truly believe that we need more than just allies, we need accomplices. And I think that some of us possess ways to do that. Moving into the future though, right now I'm wearing my No KXL shirt that I got from Dakota Rural Action. They have been very close allies in our information gathering when it comes to stopping the next pipeline that's coming through. I don't think that, I think that the system is so robotic that I don't know if Joe Biden's going to be able to stop it. And I wouldn't put all my hopes into that basket to begin with. And I don't think that the legal parts in Nebraska are going to stop the pipeline. I think that we definitely make a prayer, but we also have to follow that up with action. And after today's release from the Intercept proves that even more. The Intercept has been releasing documents about the fight in Standing Rock, tying in also the Mississippi Stand actions, the Mississippi Stand down in the Delta, the Sable pipelines in Florida, the Trans Mountain pipelines, and all these pipelines. These companies have hired mercenaries. I'm not using that as air quotes. These are legitimate post-war mercenaries utilizing their training, military training from the U.S. government to create espionage and infiltration tactics upon common citizens that feel like their constitutional rights or their treaty rights are being tainted somehow. And so if you haven't seen the Intercept document or the Intercept articles, especially the one today, proving that these systems have advocated to stop your voice. And if you think that prayer is enough, this is a massive system, massive amounts of training and funding. The reality of all this is that that's not enough, and we have to really truly organize and figure out what those actions are going to be. And we've had 4 years to think and strategize, and you know what, also but make some of the virtues that we really want to see from our way of life, to use that to build trust in the world. People don't trust Indians with land. I don't know why. They don't trust us with it. They don't trust us to protect our waters. They don't trust us to do this, and they don't trust us to do that. And it gets old. And it even happens with our own allies. And so I'm wondering, when does the trust truly begin? Not the kind of trust that over a Zoom meeting we say, oh yeah, that sounds real good, but then it never really comes. This is where we got to be careful. And so now we've been preparing for KXL for 4 years. As soon as Standing Rock ended, we just continued our networking and our advocacy to stop that. That's where we're at. And I thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. And I would just end what I have to say by saying that water is so powerful that our thoughts affect the molecular structure of how these molecules interact with one another. Mm-hmm. And the U.S. government, during one of their PSYOPs, they've released some of their PSYOP documents, and they've actually measured the speed of which thought and prayer travel. They actually think they know and understand that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it's documented in their PSYOPs releases of information. And so when we think about our voice, our prayers, how it affects water, how it interacts with it, how it complements it, and also I imagine how it taints that. It makes me think back to Standing Rock, and it makes me think, wow, you know, we were praying pretty hard on this side. I wonder what those cops were praying about on the other side.
Hmm.
And that reminds me of something that John Trudell once said. The gods battle it out amongst themselves, and then all we're left with is our brothers and sisters in arms and the next action. What's the action? It boils down to action. You can pray about it all you want. It's going to boil down to action. And so I just want to share a little bit of that. And I think that, you know, throughout the last 4 years, we've been patiently holding space for our relatives like Red Fawn, you know, that have had to go on a Zuya for a little bit. I kind of look at it like that, and I can honestly say that my time in incarceration did the same thing. It was a blessing in disguise. And so she comes home from her Ozuya, her journey, and usually the hero brings home the boon, the blessings for the people. And so I'm anxious to hear and see what those things are. The anxiousness to get back into getting back into serving our people, you know. And I think that you sit around those fires in Standing Rock long enough, you're going to make a commitment. You're going to make that connection, and so I can feel that there's something changing in this world right now, you know. And I wouldn't say that it has anything to do with the election. That gives it too much power. I think something else is manifesting, and many people of the Oceti Sakowin have been in dialogue about a solution to some of these things. And so just be mindful, all our relatives, be mindful of how powerful that water is and how it interacts. Matter of fact, your brain sits in a bath of water. It's salt water. And basically when the US government was doing different tests and things like that, they have sensory deprivation chambers. They actually immerse people in salt water, like one big brain. So we could probably go on and on about all those interesting dynamics of the system that we're up against. But I do put my complete faith in my brothers and sisters here, the Oceti Sakowin, one of the only nations on the planet to ever defeat the U.S. government on our own ground. The other one is China rising up against the United States in North Korea during the Korean War. You know, so I'd like to share that much, and I would just wish everybody that if we could make a request for people out there. Like I said, we don't need allies anymore. We need accomplices. We need people that are gonna stand right there beside us and not be afraid. We're not afraid. We don't want any of you to be afraid, because that just strengthens our belief in the Creator and all the things that we stand for. And we need people to do that with us. We need people willing to take direction from Indian people. So I'll say about that much. Hechetu Matakias.
Thank you so much, Manape. And, you know, to touch on what you were saying, prayer, that prayer also strengthens us to walk in that action. And so the prayer moves us through that action as well, you know, through that strength. And it's interesting what you were speaking of, just with the vibration of water through our words and through our prayer and through our intention. We had a scientist on earlier that spoke on all just exactly what you were talking about on that level, and actually was showing under a microscope water that, and, you know, even dried water and the way that the molecules looked. David, do you want to touch on that a little bit, what George was speaking about earlier?
Yes, this was the original work of Dr. Emoto, who talked about the spirit of water, who, because when we set our intentions, the water crystallizes those intentions. If we have love in our hearts, the water turns out to be beautiful crystals in a certain way. But if you have compassion, you're feeling, then it turns out a certain way. But if you have hate, it doesn't crystallize. It doesn't turn out to crystallize. It turns really ugly. So there's no crystals formed. So actually, our minds and our words, the intentions of it, can destroy the water. And they also was talking about the radiation, the towers, that actually the water near the towers did not allow the water to be crystallized, but actually when the water is crystallized, it was deformed. So it showed that the effect of the radiation itself on the water itself, but on of course including the when you dump toxins in the water or arsenic or everything, it changes the water. The water cannot crystallize it, and the beauty and of the beauty and of it is destroyed. But not only destroyed because we are drinking the water, it also creates the ill health of that. But a funny part about this conference itself is called the Water is Life Conference. And Sheri and I came together with the Standing Rock people during that time that we met each other for water, actually. That was the main thing, right, Sheri?
Yes, yes, yes. That was during that time. Yep. And have continued on. So I'm just so thankful. Is Manape still there with us, and Red Fawn? Are they
Yeah.
still with us? Okay.
Yeah, let's
And
have Red Fawn
can you
talk
hear
a
us?
little bit.
Red Fawn, did you want to touch on anything before, you know, we conclude?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely would like to take an opportunity to thank David and you yourself, Sheri, and Manape. I'm very grateful for the words that he shared and the knowledge. This is how to say, I've been in prison, so that's not a learning environment that you want to, you know, bring too much out of. When I came out of prison, and right now I'm in a halfway house, there's a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. And as a Lakota person, you carry that for your relatives. And so I look forward to going into ceremony and to being able to wipe myself down and be able to pray that way. Right now, we're on the COVID restrictions and we're not allowed to go to ceremony. We're not allowed to see anybody. We're just strictly allowed to go to work and come back. So this is very important to our people. Prayers, as he spoke, I always try to acknowledge our youth, our future generations, because they started this prayer and they said, hey, you know, we're going to get on our feet and we're going to run and we're going to take this prayer to Washington, D.C. and we're going to ask that they hear this prayer. And our ancestors and our elders and our relatives are going to come with us in heart and in spirit. And that prayer was so strong that it ignited the fire that we had at I'm sorry, hold on one second.
Just this is David, just touching on Red Fawn before she comes back. You know, that prayer carried us forward, and now we're bringing 1,000 Indigenous nations together to create a new Federation of Nations. Yesterday, we had a conference. We confirmed 43 nations from the Condor are coming together to join us. Where we have less the Eagle nations coming together but the Condors are very well organized. They believe they could actually themselves bring the 1,000 from the Mexico, Central America, and South America. So
Actually,
back.
I just want to touch on that really quick. Just that yes, and the Eagle Nations are coming together just as strong with the Condor Nations. So I just want to touch on that. But yes, Red Fawn, go ahead. She's back.
Oh, I apologize about that.
No worries.
Okay, so as I was saying, so that prayer that our youth, that our younger relatives started, it ignited something that it called out to spirits all across the world, to everyone of every nation. And those of us who were fortunate enough to be there, I was thankful that I was able to, be close to Unchimaka and Maniwaka. I was thankful to be able to sit on the ground and to be able to swim in the water and to feel that medicine and to feel those ceremonies and be a part of that relationship with Earth, because that's what it comes back to, down to prayer and acknowledging our relationship with our grandmother and with all of our relatives that are not two-legged. I think that is the key to the change that we all speak about and that we all want and that we, that we dream of. It's not about politics. It's not about human rights, our civil rights. It's about the rights of our unchi. It's about the rights of our spirituality. It's the way that our ancestors walk. And I think that once we have that intact and we use that as a guide and we go back to that way of life, then I believe that the change that we're looking for will be able to, begin. That healing will be able to begin, because this whole colonization, this whole authoritarian society is our spirits will never be okay with that. That's not who we are. To lay on our grandmother, to go into Inipi, to be a part of that sacredness. I don't like to really use that word, but to be a part of that energy, a part of that universal being, that's what I believe in. That's how I feel. That's what I got out of this, because that's what carried me through those iron walls and that trauma and that hurt and that pain and that confusion, was to remember who started, where did this start with our young ones, that courage that it took to stand up and say, hey, we're going to do something about this. And so they went and they built that relationship with that water. They went out there and they stayed on that land with their feet. They connected to Unchimaka. And that's something that I carry with me every day. And I'm thankful, I just got off 2 weeks of quarantine and I couldn't even go get a breath of fresh air. And that happened to me throughout the years being incarcerated. And it's hard, because we have brothers and sisters that are still in that situation, and some that aren't even in prisons, but are mentally and spiritually imprisoned because of colonization and because of this wayward thinking of, us and them. I think that we really need to get our spirituality and our relationship with Mother Earth intact. That way we know the direction that we need to go in order to ensure future generations a good way of life. So I'm thankful for the youth, and I'm thankful for those ceremonies that I was able to take part in at Ochete Shakwe, and I'm thankful for my brother Manape that sits here with us tonight and everything that he had to share. And I'm thankful for you, Sheri, and David. I'm very, very thankful for this. And I would like to be able to learn more, because I don't know nothing. And that's what I want to do. I want to learn. I want to be able to be a good relative. And when somebody calls me, I want to be able to be there and to help in any way that I can. And I have no fear of this government, our infiltrators, or anything. This journey's been a hard one, but I didn't carry Heath Harmon with me. I didn't carry the FBI with me. I carried my ancestors in my chante, and I carried all of that and those prayers that everyone sent to me. That's what I took with me. That's what I carry with me. And that's what carries me. And that's what makes me who I am, is how my mom wanted me to walk, what she taught me. My grandmother taught me, my grandpas and grandmas and aunties and uncles and my relatives, and things that I'm continuing to learn. The language, the traditional values, the culture, the storytelling, the being a good relative, the ones helping my little sisters in here and everywhere that I am, and my nieces and nephews. Like right now, I have a family member that passed away, and we were really close, and it was really confusing because if I wasn't in here, I would be there. So, you know, you do what you can, and you can't always do what you want to be able to do. And so we do what we can as good relatives. And I'm thankful that I have that ability to learn from so many awesome people. And I'm just thankful. So we'll be
We are so thankful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And your heart, and just, oh man, I just want to say you touched on so many things. We've been discussing this, you know, throughout the week. And one of the things when you're talking about the youth and going back to the culture, and that's exactly it. It is the core. It isn't in the governance, and the core is in the healing, and that is the core nature, and bringing our youth together with our elders, and that spirituality is what embarks on the healing. So thank you so much for that. And Manape, did you want to touch on anything?
No, I think she summed that up pretty
Yeah.
well. Pretty well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, it's really tragic when things happen when we stand alone. You know, there's nobody to help us. Why the indigenous nations or indigenous people cannot help each other by standing together? Why we need allies when there's 370 million to 600 million indigenous people? When it was the standing of each other, I mean, that's the same size as the United States European Union. It's actually bigger than the United States European Union to stand with each other for that. Yes, they have stood at Standing Rock, but you know, it could have been it could be a lot more powerful together, you know, a lot stronger. You've seen the power of 700 nations coming together, but let's do it bigger, you know, because why? The corporations are well organized, well funded, and they're determined. They have a determination like you've never seen. They'll do anything to get to their goal. We have to be as determined as those corporations that we're fighting, those governments that we're fighting. We have to be actually more determined and more united, more organized, more well-funded, everything to be able to win, you know?
Well, I want to touch on that a little bit, David, because and yes, I see what you're saying, but going back to the real winning is the healing. And when our nations come together, and our youth and our elders, and we're looking out for future generations, and we're protecting our medicines, we're protecting our cultures, we're protecting our humanity through the action. And that's what you're saying, you know, we'll have the action coming together, but through that healing, through bringing us together, through that prayer, through that action, is and becoming human beings. And you know, I think that everything that Red Fawn said was right on point, just 150%, and also Manape. And so and yes, and David, thank you so much for your insight and your heart as well. And I just have so much gratitude for sitting with you all here today. And on that, I just am thankful. And David, I don't know if you wanted to go ahead and close us out in prayer.
Yes, before that, Red Fawn will be coming back for a full interview with Sarah Beckham. She's a world-renowned journalist, and at that time, we're planning a global broadcast of many TV stations like that. Of course, Red Fawn can say what she wants to say, and what she doesn't want to say will be kept private. But because we need to share the story of what happened. You know, it's not over. A lot of people went home and assumed that it's not over, but the fire is still there. It just needs to be fanned. The flames need to be fanned, and it'll grow back. You know, so I don't feel comfortable. Would you like to lead a prayer, Manape, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I could just say something real quick before I do that. You know, when I talk about the trust and the accomplices and things like that, you know, I don't want to presume to think that we're looking constantly out for outside solutions. I believe that Indian people do possess those solutions, but I think allyship also allows people to kind of
Unity.
interfere sometimes, and that's why I talk about accomplice. I need you to just be by my side and trust, and be by my side through the whole thing, you know. And those things are going to be based on Indian decisions, Indian ideas, or indigenous, whatever we want to say, you know. And I would like to reiterate the thought of Cahokia Mounds, an ancient pyramid site near St. Louis, what's known as St. Louis, Missouri right now. And, you know, I thought that Cahokia Mounds was very ancient, and it's only 1,000 years old. I learned that when I got there. And then I found out how they built it. And somebody wove baskets. And at some point in time, some leader turned to the people and said, I want you to take dirt from over there, put it in the basket, and walk it a quarter mile over here and dump it in a pile. And the people did that. The people said, yes, that's a good idea. We're going to wake up every day and do it. And it took them 150 years. So not just that leader, but and I say leader because at the place it says that it was a chief, but we don't know. They don't know if it was a woman or a man that might have presented that idea. The thought that it was just a chief is speculative. But somewhere in there, some chief or some leader said, let's do this. And the people got up every day for the next 150 years. Multiple leaders had came and went. Multiple generations of families. Some people lived, breathed, and died just carrying dirt for that mound. Probably most never even got to enjoy the benefits of that mound. That civilization existed for about 200 years and then it collapsed. That's just the very basic general history that I learned while I was at that museum. And it's important to note that it's Missouri state archaeologists that present this information, not Indian people. But I bring this up not to argue that. I bring it up because of the motivation. The leader figured out how to motivate the people to do this. You know, I imagine they probably thought that they were going to do that there for eternity. Yeah, but their civilization only lasts for 200 years. The spirit associated with that. What do we got to do? I want to know what that leader said to the people that made them get up every day and go do that. We were very industrious. We were very disciplined. We were very committed to accomplishing things. And now when I see on the reservations, when I see food sovereignty initiatives, I see white people doing the work. I don't see Indians in the garden so much. I'm a little tired of that. I'm wondering, what do I have to say to people? What do I have to do? I can say it, but then I have to do. What do I have to do to persuade some of our cynical relatives that this is really, truly a good idea and I want to participate in it? Maybe that leader down in Cahokia wove his own bag and started carrying his own dirt. I don't know. But I do see some social dilemmas amongst our own indigenous people that we have to figure out. We have to figure out, how do we get our own people into these gardens and thinking that's a good idea? Because I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've been a witness to it. It's easier just for me just to walk to the grocery store and pick my tomatoes than it is to actually pick weeds in a tomato garden. And I think that we do have some level of privilege because of the economy. Even though we're very poor, we're not killing cats in the streets of Buenos Aires for our food. So I'm very grateful for where we're at, but I do recognize the amount of work that needs to be done amongst our own people. And so I'd love to continue that conversation. What does that mean? I don't have the answer, so that's why I present it.
Well, I think
I'm looking for it.
we've touched on this a little bit, just, on different things, and even going back to some of the things Red Fawn was talking about with the colonization, and, and we've talked about the trauma. And so I think that it goes to the core, Manape, on things that we've talked about in, in placing the wellness centers and bringing our elders and our youth together and having our, what is in line with the heart and the mind, and really bringing that healing and circulating that healing. Because like I say, if the trauma can circulate, I believe that the healing can circulate that much stronger. So it's really implementing that healing, and it is in our people. I do believe that it is in our people, and focusing on that strength is definitely what is needed. So therefore, we have that in our own communities. As you say, we don't really need allies, we need accomplices, as far as the unity goes, but the healing so much in our people, so they're in the action, because that's where it's at. So
I could answer the question of Manape, actually, because that leader to bring the dirt right to it, because it's always starts with the leader with a vision and an idea. The second thing that needs to be done is to find a disciple. A disciple, that means that person is a second disciple. That means once you find a second person, you're a leader, because you are not a leader if you have no people following you. You're totally not a leader. When you have one person following you, you become that leader. And it might come out the craziest places, like in the Haudenosaunee, the great peacemaker, they found Hiawatha as the first disciple, and then the female Jehonse was the second disciple that found. And that's the same thing, like when even the scripture example, I'm not saying that insulting, even the Bible, the Christians found the first disciple, then the second is third, but it starts from there, finding the first disciple that's crazy enough to follow you. I said, I'm going to follow that person no matter what. I'm going to have his back. No matter what, I'm going to sleep and I'm going to do it no matter what. Then when the first disciple is found, then the people will look. I said, look at that guy. He's crazy. He's following this guy. There must be something to this guy, So then you get more and more. And that's how it starts, That's how it starts. But it always starts with the idea, and then the rest,
Right. But it's not just governance, because that's how,
No, it's not governance. It's a guy that
that's what I'm saying. So I get you, and I feel you 100% on that. But that's when we go through the core and the healing, because you want you want it to keep going. You want it to keep going in that discipleship. So in your theory, so we definitely.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard of cholera? The disease cholera.
Yeah.
A long time ago in Standing Rock, they called it the cramping death. And they thought that initially, when cholera first came around, tribes thought that it was on the wind. And the decisions that leaders made were very harsh. And but anything to get the people away. There's a book called Witness about Standing Rock and about decisions made at particular times, and they were talking about the cramping death, and the whole village is just up and left. And anybody who was sick was completely abandoned and left to die. No burial, no nothing. And some of these encampments around, some of these bands around either the Dakota or the Lakota side of the Standing Rock bloodlines, somewhere down the road, some men said, hey, you know, I think our relatives all passed away now. So we're going to go back and wrap them in a buffalo robe at the very least. And so the people that felt this way, that they should do that, were like some of the best warriors in the tribe. And so the leaders said, well, we can't lose you guys. And they said, no, we're going to go do that. We're going to go take care of that. We don't, you know, and those leaders said, all right, we'll do what you got to do. And so they gathered up all the buffalo robes from people that had a loved one that had passed away. And they headed back to that encampment. And they proceeded to, there was 2 of them, I believe. And those 2 proceeded to roll the dead in buffalo robes, knowing that touching them would get them sick, you know, and because they thought of it like smallpox. And those men weren't allowed to be brought back to camp because then they would be sick. So those men that knew that somebody had to go do something, they took the initiative and they went and rolled their relatives in robes. Later, we find out cholera is from bad water. So this isn't the first time our people have suffered from such ailments, this dis-ease of Turtle Island, you know, and we can keep studying little things like that in our past in hopes that it takes us somewhere. It has to. What's the big picture? What is the big picture for Indian people? What is that? Is it to have our own country and nation? Is it just to survive peacefully? To peacefully suffer? Is that why we're here on Turtle Island? Or are we going to build a nation? Or maybe we're not. Maybe we're humble. Maybe we're just too humble for that. I don't know. But I do know that that there's some things that have happened that we have to stay connected to those teachings, like what I shared with you about the cramping death. There's important bits of information in that, and we shouldn't forget that. At the same time, I wonder what happens to the leadership when they have to make such hard decisions, because the rest of that story was that the people made it to a very secluded place. And when you travel like that, your teepee poles leave a line in the dirt with the horse hooves. And some young people who had been abandoned in other communities came across those lines in the dirt, and they followed him to that camp. And the leader said, anyone approaches this camp, lay them down. And they did. They laid them down. No matter how old they were, no matter who they were, no matter who they were related to. Hard decisions. You know, and I imagine we're going to have some pretty hard decisions in the future. But I think that if we can help solve some of the social and economic issues that face us, you know, I'd love to unite, but I wish that I had the resources to do that too. It's hard. I live in St. Francis right now with my companion, and it's really hard to be all the places I need to be. You know, I wish that I was in Manderson right now at visiting Deborah White Plume's family. She just crossed over. So a lot of prayers to the White Plume family
Mhm.
You know, we've fought a few battles, different battles with them against alcohol on Pine Ridge. My father helped stop that, you know, and then other battles throughout Indian country, you know, and so we're in mourning.
Mhm.
And at the same time we're mourning, we're trying to prepare for whatever it is that's ahead of us. So if you'd like me to close that out, we can make a prayer of all this, of all these dynamics. Is that okay there, David?
Yeah, and yes, Manape, and I also wanted to not to speak for David, but I noticed Ernest had come on, and he was a guest that came in a little bit later. So right before you close, Manape, if you don't mind, Ernest, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Did you want to just, but we've been on for a little while here, Ernest, but so glad that you were able to join. And I have not met you by face before, so nice to meet you here. I'm Sheri, and Ernest was stepping in for Vanessa today. And so Ernest, if you could please just introduce yourself a little bit. And this is our Water is Life conference, and we were just all going over the importance, and in your own words, please introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, my name is Ernest Taho. I'm Yavapai Hopi. I live out here in Hopi, First Mesa area, Palaka.
Oh,
Yeah, I was asked by Vanessa to come and talk on her behalf on specifically on a water project that I started back in 2016, like right after coming back from Standing Rock, because a group of us Hopi Tewa people went up there around, I think it was in September 15th through the 19th, I think we were there.
oh,
So after coming back, we went up there in support and also to bring attention to our water issues that we have here. We have contaminations of uranium, vanadium, arsenic, high levels. Our arsenic levels range from 14 parts to the highest recorded was like 32 parts per billion. So right now I work with a Black Mesa Trust organization out here in Hopi from the village of Kukutsmovi. The CEO and founder is Vernon Masayespa. He's an ex-chairman of the Hopi tribe. He started this organization back in the 70s, in which they had fought to shut down the slurry line, the coal line that was using our water from our aquifer to transport the quarry slur from the Kayenta mine, which is in northern Arizona, all the way across to the west side of Arizona to the Mojave generating power plant. And that's where most of us believe most of the contamination had come from, is when they were pumping the water from the aquifer, mixing the coal in one junction, and then, you know, there's like a lot of power outages. So what we were thinking is that, did they even have like a safety precaution from when the power shuts off? You know, the water would be just like a straw, drinking out of a straw. You have all that vacuum up, and then once the power drops, the water will go back down. So that's what we're thinking, is that when the power goes out, the contamination with the coal and water mixture, that contaminated water goes back down into the aquifer. And not only that, you know, just the natural deposits of these minerals, like the arsenic, the uranium deposits and stuff, those are naturally. But with not along with that, with our water here, our pH levels are really high. They average like around 9 to, I think, 10 parts per billion as far as the pH level goes. But what I found out is that the higher the pH levels are in the water, it'll start to soften up the walls of the aquifer, thus causing the walls to collapse, thus exposing more of the contaminants, the arsenic, and then the uranium deposits that are down below. No one's really exactly sure how everything started, but once the EPA started dropping the standards down, then Hopi became in compliance with the regulations. So that's one of the reasons why when I came back, I started to research into some of this stuff and going out and doing presentations to the local communities, also reaching out outside of the boundaries of Hopi, like doing some presentations to a couple classes at NAU, the Northern Arizona University, talking about our water and our project. Also did a little work with Coconino Center of the Arts. We have, they have an exhibit called Parchment, Waters of the Southwest. And I helped an artist who works with photography, but she doesn't use a camera. She uses specialized paper where she immerses the paper in the water, and her apprentice will be standing on sides of the shorelines, and they would flash a big flash and exposing the top layers of the water onto the paper. So what we did was got some water samples from Hopi, both filtered from one of our filters and non-filtered water. And she was able to take those images, and you could see the comparison between the filtered water and non-filtered water. And we also took water samples from our natural springs around here, and those are fairly similar to the filtered water rather than the non-filtered, because the non-filtered you could see a lot of darkness and other contaminants in it, while the filter was a little bit lighter in color and a more little subtle look to it. Right now, we've been working with several other filters. First one, we started with a single unit, basically just to handle the arsenic. And then later on, I found out about the uranium and the uranium levels. So we switched those out to a double unit. Slowly, we started getting more water samples done and finally got it analyzed. And now that we know that, other contaminants are in there, the regular TDS, plus, like I said, the uranium, the vanadium, the arsenic. Arsenics, we have arsenic 3 and arsenic 5. Arsenic 3 is a smaller molecule than in arsenic 5, and it's more toxic. So like with the filters, if we use a regular arsenic 5 filter, the arsenic 3 that's in the First Mesa area will just pass through it, because fibers in that filter are a little bit bigger. So the smaller the molecule of the arsenic 3 will just pass through the filter easily. So we had to get different types, an arsenic 5 and an arsenic 3 filter for the homes. But we also work with a solar unit that we also purchased. And most of these units that we're getting them at low cost rather than retail. Like our solar unit, which is we can transport from village to village, even outside, do windmills and stuff like that. And that retailed, I think, ran around almost 9,000, but we were able to get it for 5,000. And that's including some extra filters. And it's a 3-system 3-unit filter system. It's the first filter that it runs through is your basic small contaminant particles, dirt, sticks and stuff like that. Then it's pumped into a carbon block ultraviolet filter, which would take care of the bacteria, the uranium, the vanadium and stuff like that. Then it's also passed to a third filter system, which is an arsenic filter, and that filter itself handles both the arsenic 5 and arsenic 3. So with that, we were able to filter out some water for the community out here in Hopi. And recently, we just now are getting reverse osmosis systems. These ones run just with pressurized water. These would be used for homes like with no electricity, but do have running water. And these units, I don't know if you, let me see if I can show you. Let's see, I don't know if you'd be able to see that. Let me pull this out. So this is 3 of the filters of the 5-stage unit that we have now that we're working with. And inside this box right there is a 2-gallon reserve water tank for this unit. So right now I'm getting ready to write out our PPE safety protocols for our installation, so that way myself and my workers that are helping me install these filters, you know, we takes all safety precautions, especially during this time. Other than that, you know, seeing how it's coming up on the 4th year anniversary of the Blackwater Bridge, and very thankful for all of you water protectors that were there that night. And you know, I wanted to be there myself, but I unfortunately had to come back. But other than that, this is where I'm at. And like I said, I was just stepping in for Vanessa at this time and kind of try to get our project out there. What I call this is the No Arsenic for Hopi. But basically we're covering all Hopi villages, plus the southern part of the Navajo Nation down by Vanessa's house area. So we're covering all of this, and then around towards the west end of Arizona, towards Flagstaff, along the Tuba City, Gray Mountain area, and down that way.
Wow. Thank you so much for your service and everything that you're walking in right now. And I
Sheri, you're muted. Yeah. We cannot hear you.
That we're even talking earlier about really wanting to work with our Indigenous nations. So Ernest, I really appreciate everything that you shared, and I definitely look forward to following up with you in more detail. And of course, Vanessa, and she's invited me to come out that way. And then I have relatives out that way too. Our Hogan is in Window Rock, actually. And one of the things we were talking about earlier is also the transformers, the radiation that's poisoning the water with uranium. That's radiation too, but actually the transformers are poisoning the water as well. So just so much to share and to continue sharing. And thank you so much for all the work that you're doing now and continuing to do. And like I said, just very honored to meet you and to continue these conversations with you. And David, I didn't know if you wanted to touch, I know that Manape was going to lead us out in prayer, but if anybody wants to touch on what Ernest shared, I think that would be great.
Yeah, since Red Fawn is here, maybe you would like to say some more things before we close out the prayer.
Okay, hello relatives. I just want to say thank you to Ernest for everything that he's doing and everything that he shared with us today. I think that his extent of knowledge on how to protect his people with contaminated waterways is it's part of our healing, and it's part of our way to move forward. It coming out of being incarcerated for 4 years, I know this isn't a problem that's only existed for 4 years, but before then I you know, I wasn't really I didn't pay enough attention. So in order to sit here and to listen to everything that he had to say, it opens my eyes to the broad learning that many of us need to do, because what he's doing, he can only do for his community, and that's enough for what he's doing, and I commend him for that. I encourage all our relatives to be able to get out there and do this, because I think that our waterways are polluted all across Turtle Island and all across the world, and it's sad that I mean, listening to this, it really breaks my heart, because we're talking about medicine that Unchimaka provided, that creator provided, have clean water, when we were provided with that. And it's kind of scary, because when you have to do all that, where is the spirit of Maniwaka? Where is that spirit of that medicine? Where does that go? I know that Standing Rock, this is a good time to bring this up, at Standing Rock, at the confluence of the Cannonball River and Manisosa, when those two rivers where they met, it was it caused the big whirlpool, and that's where the sacred stones came from, because it formed that sandstone into these perfect round medicine balls. And so that area was very sacred to our people. When the Pick-Sloan Act went through and they dammed up the Missouri River, up and down the river, and they flooded out those lands, and they diverted the Cannonball River, it chased that spirit away, and those stones weren't, you know, made there anymore. So with the ability to do that, once again, to dam the river up, to chase the spirit away, where does our medicine stand? How do we heal? Where do we go back to? We go back to the ways of our ancestors. And in the meantime, we thank relatives like Ernest that are doing everything that they possibly can to help our relatives, to help his relatives. And that's the initiative that we all need to do. That's the step that we all need to take. We need to stop worrying about this political campaign, this government. We need to start worrying about what's going to keep our future generations here on Unchimaka. What's going to help them, what's going to reinstill our medicines to their natural spirit, to their natural healing capacities. And so I'm very thankful for that. And I'm very thankful to be able to be here tonight. Thank you, Ernest, for everything you're doing, and prayers and prayers for the Hopi relatives. You know, I was incarcerated with a couple young Hopi girls, and my heart goes out to them, and I pray with them. And it was cool to see them do their Hopi dance and to have that spirituality. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
there
can't.
you are.
I'm
Happy to see you.
sorry, I'm not really allowed to have this because it's a HIPAA violation. So I'll just wave and say hi for now. Go Broncos. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that, and, you know, be very thankful to Ernest and our Hopi relatives for setting an example, and to sharing that knowledge. It's a very great thing what you're doing, and I'm thankful that I was able to listen, and I would like to learn more. So if you have a website or something that you could drop, I would like to obtain that information, and my prayers are with you, brother.
That's quite. Thank you. Yeah, this is just a start of a project that we're doing. Basically, I want to reach out to other nations that are having water issues. So right now, this is just a rough project that we're trying to work out all the bugs and stuff. So that way we know what we're doing. Basically, what we'll start is go to the area, get a water sample, send it in, get an analyzed, and then have these filters basically designed specifically for that area is what our initial plans on doing. So hopefully we do have a fundraising page, and that is at www.globalgiving.org/projects/water4hope/ and that's our fundraising page. Our goal is 40,000 right now, and we just barely passed half of it, so we're up to 22,000 currently. So just about 17,000 more dollars to get that 40 mark. And project soon hopefully gets bigger.
Yes. I look forward, like I said, Ernest, so thankful for you as well. And extended love to the relatives, our relatives out that way, and look forward to connecting with you further and talking to you about some of the things that have come up through this conference that we've been doing to help you get the support that, you know, to keep doing the work that you're involved with in such a good way. So I definitely look forward to continuing our conversations, and of course, you know, Red Fawn here and Manape, and getting us David, and getting us Mesfin isn't with us today because of family issues, but continuing to come together on these issues. And thank you so much for everything that you shared and your time and all the work that you do. And if you want to say your fundraising site one more time again, that would be great. If you wanted to go ahead and repeat that just one more time, your fundraising site.
Yeah, sure. The site is www.globalgiving.org/projects/water4hope.
Excellent. And Ernest, I just started a petition called Friendly for Humanity Technology to go in front of Congress, and it's talking about the things that solutions for Friendly for Humanity technology that doesn't take away from our Mother Earth, but it was really in regards to radiation poisoning that the petition had started. Myself, I actually was exposed to radiation poisoning, and some relatives that are Dakota and Montana. And then of course, the Dene relatives that are out that way already, the exposure from all the radiation. So using that petition to also bring up our water quality and our air quality. But like, you know, I completely agree with the points that Red Fawn was making as well. These solutions are people coming together in community and really rising and healing together through the work that things like what you're doing that's in line with our hearts and our minds and protecting Mother Earth. And it's not so much in our governance, let's put it that way. So, but like I said, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we want to lead us in prayer and closing it out. You want me to do the prayer, Sheri?
Is Manape still with us?
No.
Oh, he had to leave?
Yes.
He had to leave. Okay. So yes, either you or Ernest. If Ernest wants to lead us out in prayer, that would be great too.
I'm okay right now, thank you.
Okay.
Maybe next time.
We're ready.
Okay. I rarely do it online, but only privately. But okay, I'll do it. Thank you, Creator, for bringing us all here together. We are here to serve you. Please guide us on our mission, and also to remove all the obstacles in our way, and also to actually transform all the people that are against us into our allies. Also, the most important thing about the entire conference Waters Life Conference is love. Love is the solution to everything. Without love, we cannot survive, we cannot continue a journey, and we cannot find the solutions. With love, we can overcome anything, and everything is possible. Because we love Mother Earth, that's why we are here to protect her. Because we love our waters, that's why we're here to protect the waters. Because we love our children and all future generations, we're here to give them a thriving future. And with love, I close out this prayer to send love to the water, and for the energy of that love to, when we put in the water, it'll magnify. And with a drop of love, it'll ripple across the world. And with the ripple, we shall cleanse the world of all the toxins, the uranium, mercury, and other things in the water. And that love, that wave is the wave from our heart. That is love. Amen.
Thank you, David.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you all for being here. My heart is so full right now. I could almost cry, and in a good way. So I just am so appreciative for all of you, and thank you so very, very much. And we will continue these conversations and continue this action. This is just the beginning. So thank you so much, and many blessings to all of you this evening.
And many blessings. And remember, the prayer started from the youth, like Red Fawn said. And we're just continue the prayer. We'll continue the journey in it, and we'll grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Oh,
Good
may the
Doksha.
Creator watch all over you guys, protect you as you make your way in this crazy world. May all nations be united again and become one and stand for Mother Earth. Thank you for inviting me and having me in this meeting.